Chapter 35. Please, stop this at once. Have you lost your mind? A few blocks away, Isabella asked that question of a mustachioed middle-aged man who, given his flour-covered apron, appeared to be a baker by trade. But instead of baking loaves, he heaved rocks through a neighboring store's window. Sorry, lady, you'll have to fend for yourself. He stuffed cured meats and wheels of cheese into a canvas sack. Isabella and Bach had ventured into a residential area of Nassim looking for the missing Tovano. Instead of clues, they found only chaos. The baker turned bandit ran off with his treasures while down the street, two men engaged in an impromptu tug of war over the reins of a donkey cart. Bach thought he should intervene before the dispute became violent, but before he could, the larger of the men wrested control of the reins and rode off. Come back! The other man yelled. That's my vegetable wagon, you thief! Bach rode to the man's side. What what is happening here? Where are the constables? Constables? The man sneered. They was the first to leave town. Like a fool I stayed behind. Well, the blight may not get me, but it looks like my neighbors will. The man pointed at Isabella. You know, you look just like Princess Isabella. Yes, I know. Ha! The man chuckled. You're a fine-looking woman, to be sure. But do you think our princess ever leaves the royal palace without running a comb through her hair or putting makeup on her face? Well, I am certain there have been occasions. Perhaps if she was in a hurry. She smoothed out her hair with her fingers. Ah, you're no Princess Isabella. I was gonna say you look like a couple of them fugitives those strange folk was looking for the other day. Strange folk? Bach asked. I mean, they seemed awful serious. They stopped me in the street as I made my morning rounds. They acted like they come from Ithanel on behalf of the king, but they gave me a bad feeling, and I don't tell 'em nothing. Of course, even if ye are these fugitives, I don't guess it matters. Not with all this happening. He gestured at the burning buildings and unchecked looting around them. Bach wondered if the scions of Cenarion remained in Nassim. And if so, was Tavano even still alive? At some point, they would confront the scions again. Bach hoped it would happen before it was too late for Emarina. The fires had spread to a nearby boarding house. The building hadn't been extensively damaged yet, so Isabella cast a spell and the flames quickly burned out. At least that is one problem I can solve. She and Bach continued riding down the street, dodging the occasional pile of broken glass or smashed crates. They paced their journey through the neighborhood, carefully looking around for clues, but also aware that their time to find Tovano was limited. But the streets framing Nassim's factory district all held the same mix of isolated fires, broken windows, and the occasional looter or frightened straggler who had not fled town with their neighbors. Bach found a sameness in the chaos, as incongruent as that seemed. I wish there was something more we could do, Bach. I never thought this could happen in Imarina, in my family's kingdom. I know. Bach pulled his horse close alongside Isabella's and, from his saddle, put his arm across her shoulder. She rested her head on him and closed her eyes to the devastation around her. Bach grieved at the destruction, too, knowing what it meant for the people who had lost their homes, their jobs, and perhaps more. But he also hurt for his friend, who took the widespread devastation afflicting their country as a personal failure of her leadership. The best way we can help these people is to stop Salandrian, Bach assured her. He's the root of this evil. But first, we find our friend. She straightened up and Bach pulled his arm away so they could both resume their search. However, the next 2 hours proved fruitless, only extinguishing a few fires and breaking up 2 fistfights. Wherever Tovano is hidden, it might as well be 1,000 miles away. Bach paused in front of a 3-story grain mill, where the river powered a giant wheel to turn the millstone that every day ground hundreds of pounds of corn from the nearby fields into meal. He snapped his fingers. If we could get up on the roof, we probably could see the entire street. He looked around the side of the mill. Maybe we can find an open door. There should be some stairs inside. And no need for stairs. With a wave of Isabella's hand, an invisible wind swept her and Bach off the ground. Like all children, Bach and Yata had pretended they could fly. Once Yata even climbed to the top of their house, stretched her arms wide, and leaped into a pile of straw. "Hutch me, Bach! I'm a red-tailed hawk!" Her antics earned her a month of extra chores from their parents, but Bach still laughed every time he thought of his sister, suspended in midair in his imagination, diving into that hay pile. "Tovano taught me the gentle float spell when I was a child. You will learn it soon. I used to employ this spell to sneak out of the palace tower and into my mother's gardens. My father was furious when he discovered. Tovano had to pretend he was disappointed as well. But as soon as my father left the room, Tovano admitted he was proud of me for mastering the spell." They reached the sloped roof of the mill, and the sense of weightlessness ended. "Your father, the king, does he have the acumen? Or did your mother?" "No, neither was born with the acumen." Isabella peered over the edge of the roof and pointed to a man moving through a side street below. "Who is that skulking about down there?" Bach looked down. "I can't say for certain, but he appears just to be trying to get somewhere safe without encountering any of that rough crowd we saw." Bach turned back to the conversation. "So, where does your acumen come from?" Well, my grandmother on my father's side, Queen Idalia, had the acumen, but she never bothered to develop it. She became too comfortable with the trappings of royalty to commit to something as challenging as high magic. When I learned I was endowed with the acumen, I promised I would not let it go to waste." "But what about you, Bach? Do others in your family practice folk magic?" Bach shook his head. "They don't. But when I was young, Winnie Khan tested all the children in our community, and I suppose she saw something in me. And like you, I didn't want to let that opportunity slip by. In my case, I didn't care for farming, and while I have done my share of blacksmithing, well, I'm terrible at it, if we are being honest. Becoming a healer seemed a better path for me." He looked across the city. They could see the entire street, and more, from their third-story perch atop the slanted wooden roof. Construction workers had used pine resin to seal the cracks between the shingles. This kept the grain and meal inside dry even on the rainiest of days. Bach admired the craftwork. He wondered, would the Baron of Nardu have a similar appreciation of skilled labor? If so, how long would that last around the courtly people of Ithanel? "You were right, Bach. We can see forever from here." Isabella shielded the late afternoon sun from her eyes with her hand. "Any sign of Aventil, Umra, and Kotarian?" He sighed. "No, I'm sure they're too far away. There are a few people out on the streets, but none of them appear to be likely to bring us closer to Tovano and the Scions." "Yes, that's been the story of this mission, hasn't it? Every step we take puts us farther and farther from our goal." "No, don't say that, Isabella, please. We uncovered Salandrian's plot, and once Wingate informs the king, he will put an end to this uprising. Your father will be proud of you. He is proud of you. And I know Aventil. He will." Isabella rolled her eyes. "Aventil. I believe I have lost him too. Truth be told, he will consider himself grateful if he does not already. My duty to Imarina will be, and must be, my first love. I. I'm sorry. In recent days, Bach recognized that Isabella's presence made his stomach flutter and his thoughts scatter. He figured she had that effect on plenty of people. But he also knew that no matter what the truth may be about his origins, he was serving class raised. Imarina's noble class would never accept their princess having a romantic relationship with someone from his background. Far more importantly, she and Aventil are my friends. Their happiness means more than a teenage boy's fever dream. For the same reason, he wouldn't press Isabella about the secret he suspected she kept. Whatever it is, she would never hurt me, and right now, she needs my support, not an interrogation. I know you mean a great deal to Aventil, and he to you, Isabella. Perhaps the final chapter in your story together has not yet been written. Perhaps. She smiled and then quickly turned back to look for signs on Nassim's streets that might lead them to Tovano. It truly is beautiful up here, despite the circumstances. I have not spent much time in Nassim. I suppose I always thought it paled when compared to my shining city of Ithanel. But the ancient buildings, the symmetry of the center city, the old oak trees lining every street. I need to spend more time here and throughout the kingdom. I will return soon if we succeed. When we succeed. Bach's mouth curled into a smile. Yes, that's it. Her hands smacked together. When you say it, I believe it. Tell me, Bach, why do I inspire so much faith in you? Because I see you for how you truly are. He became aware that his breathing and heart rate both had sped up, as if he had jogged up the side of the grain mill. I hope I can help you see it too. You have a way of saying exactly what I need to hear, Bach. Isabella turned her eyes to him and back to the horizon again. But I am not the only one struggling with unanswered questions. Have you thought more about what Tovano shared with you? Bach nodded. Accepting a barony and becoming his next pupil? An incredible opportunity, but it doesn't seem real and true. Kotarian says that while I have the acumen and am noble class born for sure, he is skeptical of my potential to be a sorcerer. Even an intensive course of study can't overcome 19 summers in Sola Valley, or so he tells me. It is not Kotarian's decision to make, though, nor that of the house. Isabella brushed the long curly brown hair from her face. My father alone has the authority to reward baronies. Given the courage and loyalty you have displayed, you can be the Baron of Nadu if you choose. This presented Bach with a clear path of opportunity. Accepting the king's offer would make Bach a wealthy man, to the point that his parents, Yata, and even Noji would never need to work again. He could give them the lives they deserved. It also provided the opportunity for Bach to develop his newfound skills in high magic and use those talents to their highest purpose. But most of all, it would mean there was a place for him with Isabella and Aventil. However, accepting this offer would mean leaving his family behind in Sola Valley. They would never agree to join him in the city, and he would miss out on his parents growing old, on Noji growing up, and on Yata reaching her full potential as a blacksmith, a mother, and a community leader. So, what should I do? Follow your heart. His confusion must have been clear on his face, as Isabella threw her arm over his shoulder, her gold bracelets clinking. Where does my heart lead me? Choosing between my family and my friends seems an impossible decision. But that it was a choice for another day. For a moment, he forgot about the mystery of his parentage, the questions about his future, the danger facing Emarina, and the life or death battle that undoubtedly lay ahead. He and Isabella stood on the rooftop, each silently supporting their beloved friend. In that moment, all was right in Bach Omat's soul.